All right, today's shout out is going to Victory Junction in Asheboro, North Carolina. It was started as a memory for Adam Petty, Kyle Petty's son and the grandson of Richard Petty. They held, I don't know if they still do, to be honest with you, but they used to hold a running race every year in the fall. And I ran it a couple times. I ran the half marathon a couple times. And it was a pretty special race, a hilly race, I can tell you that. But what made it special was the Petty family. At the end of the race, at the finish line at Victory Junction, stood Richard and Kyle Petty. And they congratulated everybody who finished the race. And after that, they had a refreshment after the race and such. And here's the cool thing. Richard Petty spent about 20 minutes talking to me. I'm nobody. This is Richard Petty. This is the king of NASCAR. Not that I'm a huge NASCAR fan, but everybody knows Richard Petty. But then as he's spending time talking to me and making me feel special, the whole Petty family was doing the same with all the other runners and all the participants. That was just incredibly influential to me, and that this man of his stature would take 20 minutes out of his time to talk to me. So where I'm going with this is, has anybody worked for a company where you just generally loved working for that company because the culture there was just off the charts? Or on the flip side of that, have you ever worked for a company where you just couldn't wait to get out of there because the culture was so toxic that it was a drag on everybody? Well, I did. And in fact, it was the same company. It was the greatest company when I joined it, and later on, I couldn't wait to get out of that company. Let me explain. When I joined the company, it was owned by the father. Literally, this man started the business out of his garage with a Bridgeport mill, making parts for some of the local manufacturing companies. And he grew that company to employ several hundred people. Now, keep in mind, this was years ago, and back then, on Thursdays, we got paid. And what he did was he walked around his plant and he handed every single employee their paycheck. And what he would do is he would ask you questions or find out something a little bit about you, right? My son was a ball player, and he would ask me, hey, did your son pitch a game this week? And I said, yeah, but they didn't win. He'd be like, he'll get them next time. And he would hand you the paycheck, and he'd walk away. And you'd be like, dude, what do you want me to do? Ask me, because I'll do it. Without hesitation, I will do it. And that was across the entire facility. Now, a couple years later, he retired. And he left his business to his three sons, Larry, Moe, and Curly. And the first thing that two of the brothers did was fire the third brother. So now we got these two guys. Overnight, you could find the culture just went through the floor. Long gone were paychecks being handed out by the owners. That was now the job and the responsibility of the supervisors. Right? No longer did you see them on. The only way you saw them on the shop floor was somebody who was getting fired. These are the only individuals that I knew that take great pleasure in terminating employees. And by the way, not privately, they had to make sure that there was an audience in front of the person getting fired. How humiliating. It was terrible. So when the dad was owner of the business and he walked around, he was doing this thing called a Gemba walk. And I didn't even know what a Gemba walk was. But there was a couple things that I took from him that I used when I was a supervisor. One, I did Gemba walks. I walked around every day around the shop to make sure that I got FaceTime with everybody. Communication, number one. The other thing, what he would do is he would write little notes to all of his employees on their birthday. He would send out a birthday card. Thanks very much for all your efforts. Truly appreciate your job. Have a very merry, happy birthday. Talk about culture. Every one of us would do anything in our power to, one, not disappoint daddy, okay? Or whatever he asked us, without hesitation, we would do it. As soon as the other brothers took over the business, forget it. I'm out of here. I got to go home. I got to hang now. I got to schedule it. So we would be out of there. Culture plays a huge role. Supervisors, leaders, they'll follow you. If they won, remember I said, trust, number one motivator. I would follow this man to the ends of the earth because I trusted him. The other ones, adios amigo, I'm out of here, right? So again, going back to Richard Petty, he spent 20 minutes of his time getting to know me and finding out about me, just like Daddy did. Daddy took time out of his life to find out something about me. Huge motivator for employees. Stay safe, stay healthy.